Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the meeting this afternoon. With me on the panel are Mr. Ian Mann and Ms. Lynn Nesbitt. The assessor this afternoon is Ms. Marina Tenawara. Excuse me, and the recording secretary is Mr. Stephen Lunn. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing number 6 on our docket today. Mr. Lunn, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Madam Assessor, please stand. Please state your full name. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can be seated. And Mr. Rummer, please state your full name. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the matter on our docket for this afternoon is 35 Lakewood Boulevard. Madam Assessor, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Property address 35 Lakewood Boulevard. Property roll number 06007662000. Property was originally valued as 46,419,000. I have a recommendation attached in my briefs. Page number 13 to 17 is my recommendation. First, I would like to propose my recommendation. My recommendation is value reduced to 37,074,000. This is my recommendation. You can see the detail how I came to the recommendation in page number 13 to 17. I would like to know what Mr. Rama is willing to accept.
We're much closer, but I think we still need to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. And so this property is a neighborhood shopping center. It is built between 1986 to 2007. We have effective age of 1980 to 2007. You can see the pictures for this property. In my page number 4, where it's located. It's located in Fermo Avenue, Lakewood and Vermilion in between roads. It is a neighborhood shopping center. It has a gas station, restaurant, and a Walmart retail warehouse and other CRUs. You will see my page number 2. Those are the leases in places right now. You can see the leases are varying between 20. It's all the leases are around $27, $28, and also some leases are $39. It's a bank leases are higher than usual CRU leases. You can see all the lease information there. My page number 2 is the comparables. Comparables similar to same use neighborhood shopping center. Most of them are Sage Creek and Vermilion Road. Those rents also between similar to leases in place. I did review today. I did review how we came up the valuation for this property. And if I give a little comparison, what is mine and Mr. Reimer's valuation differences? Actually, it's if we go through all of those rents, we have the 3 income stream: neighborhood shopping center, vehicle service garage, and the gas kiosk. All of the restaurant, bank, and even the retail warehouse we put together as the neighborhood shopping center. Lately, we identified is better for the property owner if we consider all those businesses as a neighborhood shopping center, because it operates as a neighborhood shopping center, even though we keep separately vehicle service garage and gas kiosk. If I give a comparison, I found out, and we are in overall we are very close except the Walmart rents, because Walmart rents, I think Mr. Reimer is using $6.61. I'm using $9.50. That's the only differences between that what Mr. Reimer is asking and what I'm proposing, because we are in the exact same, and the management 5% versus 3%. That's the only difference. Everything we are in the same page. We are very close in all the rings. That's the only difference I'm seeing. Other than that, we are in same page. I don't have a bigger presentation because nothing to present that much, because of our differences are very close. It can be very narrowed down to what the issues are. Cap rates, I'm proposing 6.8, overall 6.79. Mr. Reimer is asking 6.75. So I would like to do a very short presentation because of the no much differences we need to talk. It kind of narrowed down to what would be the best rent for the Walmart, because Walmart rents are very difficult to explain, because we have Walmart rents in the city of Winnipeg. All the rental rates between $8 to between $8, because St. Mary's Avenue we have $8.25, and we have Keniston $8 around, and again Portage Place $8 around. But those are very old leases, more than 20 years old. So today we are using $9.50, which is override rents for the match with this Walmart. So considering all of those information, I'm proposing 37,074,000 would be the better valuation for this product. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reimer, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Just a couple of questions. So Ms. Tenowara, then and I didn't go through it in a lot of detail, but basically at its in terms of the most precision between the original value and what you're suggesting now, it was a reduction I noticed in the Walmart rent from the model rate down to $9.50 a foot. And then some other adjustments to the rents to arrive at the revised valuation, right? Okay.
Yes.
And the vacancy, and now I'm speaking to Madam Chair on page, perhaps if the board members and Ms. Tenowara could turn to page 17, because my questions will flow from that page.
Okay,
So page 17 then, so the vacancy allowance of 2, 6, and 2 in the respective columns, those are all model driven along with the remaining parameters down, correct?
Yes, it's model driven.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I do with respect to the comparables, specifically the comparables with respect to the Walmart rents. On page 14, you've allocated, or you have a model-driven rent of $9.50. Is that? Am I reading that right?
No, $9.50 is not the model driven. Model driven is
It's the one on page 14. Sorry, the one on page 7.
Yes, page.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I had two separate ones. On page 7, retail warehouse, 1348 per square foot.
Yeah, that's the model driven.
Okay.
And when we consider all of the other Walmart rents within the city and the location for this particular Walmart, we reduce for $9.50, which is override rents, considering all of the other.
And you did mention that you had established a comparables of just Walmart rents, or you had used other Walmart rents. I know you
to compare to override $9.50.
Yes,
it's a knowledge about how retail warehouse what's the rental rate should be the retail warehouse. When I pick the $9.50, I go through the Walmart rents, all the leases, and the other rents like a Canadian Tire, all the other ones. And then this location is a kind of inferior to the other Walmarts for what we use for this cycle. And it is attached to the neighborhood shopping center. It's that kind of things consider. We use $9.50, which is the lower than the other Walmart rents we use for this cycle. For the other location like a Kenaston and the Senegal Center. That's a common knowledge. I use over like $9.50.
Okay, and you had access to the warehouse rental rates that Walmart is paying in other locations?
We do have the leases, which is submitted, or not on the detailed leases, the pages they submitted with the previous appeal. And we have income expenses melody information.
Okay.
And it's the knowledge of handling retail warehouse for many years.
Great. Thank you very much. That's my questions. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nesbitt, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I do have a question, and perhaps I just didn't understand your explanation. You said you put all the aspects or all the components of the neighborhood of this shopping center into one valuation piece. So the bank and the restaurants, they're all subject to the same cap rate. Is there though, and vacancy and everything, is there differences in those types of properties though that would warrant them being dealt with differently? Can you explain that? You said it's advantageous. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Okay, because we consider here neighborhood shopping center. If I divided to these ones as the bank income stream, restaurant income stream, and retail warehouse income stream, it will be different in cap rate, different in shortfall, different in vacancy, and different in many things. I cannot tell by heart, by memory, what would be the differences, but it will be different because we have different parameters for different income streams. Because this is one unit, one economic unit. It's a neighborhood shopping center. It reflects the better. It is a neighborhood shopping center. It's better to have it as everything together. That's why we have only one income stream. Because I mentioned this one because Mr. Reimer and me has different. Mr. Reimer divided to the categories: bank income stream, restaurant income stream, and the neighborhood shopping center, because mine is all together. That's the only reason I mentioned it. It's a one income stream.
Okay. And you said, though, by doing it your way, it's advantageous. Can you explain
It
that?
is, yeah, because it's if I use the different income streams, then overall it's going to be blended cap rate, blended shortfall. It could be different. I cannot. Because nothing in front of me, I don't have all the parameters for all of the income streams. It is different. It could be the different cap rates, different shortfalls, different income vacancies.
Okay. So your blended cap rate then becomes your new blended cap rate becomes what, 6.79?
Yes.
And then looking at your cap rate table, can you explain how that fits within your cap rate table on page 11?
Our cap rate table, it is between 6.35 to 6.95 for the power centers and neighborhood shopping centers. We are in between that limit. We are in 6.79. Our lowest is 6.35. Our highest is 6.95.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And I believe my questions have been answered. So Mr. Reimer, please proceed with your presentation.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And I'm going to keep this very brief because Ms. Tenoura's sort of characterization of where we're at is very accurate. This now distills into some very narrow issues, notwithstanding the different ways to get to those numbers. So the reference to page 17 of Ms. Tenoura's brief, that's for comparisons when I'm talking about some of the differences. If I could then ask the board and Ms. Tenoura to turn to page 21, please. And so this is the total calculation that we're suggesting to the board this afternoon. We are, in fact, we've got it broken out, and this is as much for historical reasons as anything else. We've kept the same categorizations of the different income streams. The department this cycle has gone the SKP and the VCW income streams. That's for the Shell gas station and car wash on site. And I believe that, the department's got those two separated still, but the rest. So if you look at the columns CSC, RWC, RST, and BNK, though it's those four columns that comprise in the department's brief, the NSC category, the neighborhood shopping center. So the single biggest difference by far, based on the revised valuation that Ms. Tenoura has presented and our own, is in fact in the retail warehouse, which is the Walmart. So I completely agree with the Ms. Tenoura's comments that way, that the virtually all, not quite all, but the vast majority of the difference relates to that potential income. And I'll bring the board to my suggestion very shortly. The other difference is the non-recoverable expenses. The department's applied 3% here total. Altus continues to believe that the total expense should be 7%, comprised of what's historically been labeled management fees of 5%. We're certainly, we believe that that title is misleading, but in any event, we're calling it non-recoverable. We're using it 5% for that and 2% for what's been historically known as the other or reserve for replacement. So those are the two biggest differences. I note that Ms. Tenorara's blended cap rate based on revised valuation is 6.79. We're actually at 6.75, which is just a touch lower. But recall, Madam Chair, and I'm guessing that you've heard, all the panel members here have heard this from Altus repeatedly. Our 6.75 is predicated on the inclusion of the full 5% non-recoverable allowance. And if the board were inclined to reduce that non-recoverable allowance to 1%, that would have a direct bearing on our capitalization rate request. The reason for that being our capitalization rate study and our analysis was based on the inclusion of the 5% in the derivation of the cap rates. The mathematical effect, and I'm not going to go over this in a lot of detail because I know that the parties here have heard it repeatedly. The mathematical effect of reducing the non-recoverable expense allowance from 5% to 1% is right around 30 basis points. What we're suggesting for the most part is if the expense is reduced to the 1%, then to bump our cap rate request by 25 basis points, a little bit less, but certainly very similar. So if the board in this case were inclined to go with the 1% for the non-recoverables, then our cap rate suggestion would be 7%, slightly higher than what the department's presented this afternoon. So with that in mind, then, I'm just going to focus on the one issue that I had mentioned earlier. If I could ask the board members and Ms. Tenorara to go to page 16, please. And this relates to the Walmart rent. There was of course, this was the site of the former Target store. Prior to that, it was Zellers. Then Target took over that store for a reasonably short period of time. But of course, Target left quite abruptly, the entire country quite abruptly, and Walmart then took that space at a net rental rate of $6.66. The $6.66 per square foot we're suggesting is consistent with the rates for larger retail warehouse centers. That's in our chart shown at the middle of page 16. They range from $2.25 a foot up to $12 a foot, and certainly with the subject at just around 100,000 square feet, the $6.66 a square foot seems to fall within that range quite nicely. And so we are requesting that rent be applied this afternoon. And with respect to the non-recoverables, as the board will recall from our study, we believe that it's certainly grounded in very solid appraisal theory that non-recoverable specifically for leasing, advertising, and professional fees needs to be deducted. And we've done that accordingly in this case based on the stabilized allowance of 5%. So we're asking for that to be included and for the capitalization rate of 6.75% for all income streams. And we are, this was, I believe Ms. Tenorara alluded to it, we're treating the entire property as one economic unit and have therefore applied a 5% vacancy allowance across the board, including the gas bar and the car wash, and a 6.75 cap rate across the board. The net effect of that is actually a slightly lower vacancy allowance overall than the revised suggestion of Ms. Tenorara this afternoon, and a slightly lower cap rate provided that the 5% is included. So as shown on page 21, the value that we're requesting this afternoon is $33,020,000 for the reasons set forth in these materials and as summarized on that page. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Ms. Tenorara, do you have any questions for Mr. Reimer?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Reimer, page number 16.
Yes.
This max is number one, but
yes.
Comparable,
Yes.
which is the Canadian Tire list.
Yes.
It's the area of 93,679, and which is also attached to the mall, similar to the Lakewood.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a better reflection of rental rates for the Walmart?
Well, that makes it, but Garden City, I'd suggest Ms. Tenorara, especially with all the sort of the way it's been positioned now, I'd suggest that's the rent there would be the rent being able to be achieved would be higher than the rents at the subject property. Don't forget that this was an occupancy at the subject property that Walmart took over. So certainly if the landlord would have been able, after Target vacated abruptly, if the landlord believed they could achieve a higher than 666, they would certainly have done so. So I believe that's a very good indicator.
Okay, that means if the Target are left and Walmart acquired that kind of lease, that means do you consider it's the market rents or it's kind of motivated because no one is not available to lease that Walmart took the advantage of that lower lease and go there.
But that's I guess, Ms. Tenuera, from my perspective, that's the very point I'm trying to make, is that if Walmart, when Target left, there was obviously a very, very significant retail space that they needed to fill with very limited market participants to fill it. And certainly if based on the negotiations between Walmart and the owner, if the owner felt that they had other viable options higher than the 666, they simply wouldn't have entertained the Walmart occupancy or the Walmart offering to take the space. So I actually do believe it's a very, very good indicator of what's been able to be achieved for this space because of those circumstances that arose.
Okay, the other question, can number 5 comparable is the Keniston Boulevard, please?
Yes.
Do you know this is the 640 is not the correct lease amount?
I did not. What do your records show?
This the original, as our understanding, as for the lease we have, it's the original lease. We only consider the original lease. It's a 122,951 square feet at $8.57. Which is I think these numbers after they did the addition, they divided by annual rental value divided by new area. We do have the pages for the lease.
But was this subsequent to October 19? That's the lease date on that? Now I'm confused, Ms. Tenuera.
This is not the they did not do the lease amendment as we understand.
Okay.
Once after they build the addition to the Walmart, which is the food area, they keep paying the exact same rents for the higher space.
For the 157,000 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not the lease, it's kind of interpretation or whatever the business decision. That's what we understood.
Okay. No, I mean, fair comment. So the quick answer is no, I wasn't aware of it. So what, just for my benefit and the benefit of the board, what's the rate per square foot that you calculate?
122,751 at $8.57.
$8.57.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair comment. I don't believe it. I'd still maintain the 666 in the circumstances that we're talking about with the subject makes sense, but the 857 for the 122,000 based on your verbal advice, I mean, I have no reason to dispute that, put it that way.
Okay, I think the same situation with the St. Mary's Road lease too, because we have the different numbers. I know it's a confusing Walmart leases after they build the addition. All the Walmarts after they build the addition, it went to some kind of different interpretation. That's how we see it, or different business.
Absolutely, and to be clear, Ms. Tenuera, that 2.25 square foot, I place virtually no weight on that. That seems very, very low too.
Okay.
So it was essentially the 640 a square foot, which now you're saying is 857, but the 640 to the 824, I believe that represented a proper range. So I guess based on what you're saying, then it would, it's in the sort of upper sixes to low eights based on our combined evidence, other than the Canadian Tire, which I'd suggest to you is quite a bit higher than if the owner thought they could get $12 or anywhere near it when Walmart was coming in, they would have done it. But appreciate your advice on the Keniston Walmart.
Okay. Then I wanted to turn to page number 19. This is actually the repetition of what I have mentioned before. Your RWC potential gross rent is 922,772 as per your.
Sorry, Ms. Tenor.
I might be too.
The RWC rent we have is 657, right? Is that-
Yes, 600.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I read my numbers.
Yeah.
Sorry. Your numbers is 657,061.
Right.
And you can see my numbers. If I go to my page, I think it's 14.
Yep.
923,372. It's a different, when I add the difference to your PNMI, you and me are very close. You can do.
Absolutely. So as identified earlier, fundamentally, the two differences in our respective valuations between
Walmart.
here and what you've now presented as the revised number, the two fundamental differences are the Walmart potential rent and the non-recoverable expense allowance amount to be applied. Those are the two differences, without question.
Yeah, that's all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions for Mr. Reimer?
I do, just moving back to your comparables. I think it's your page 16.
Yes,
Yeah, that St. Mary's Road 225. What is that a Walmart?
that is the Walmart there, and it's as I say, Madam Chair, the records that we certainly the information that we had was very clear as to the rent being paid, but I didn't place a lot of weight on that net rental rate per square foot, obviously.
Because if you take that out as a outlier and no weight is placed on it, the average becomes about 8.25, 8.23 per square foot.
But that would presume the $12 rate would be used, and I'd suggest that's as much of an outlier at the top end as the 225 is at the bottom end.
Fair enough, then that leaves us at about a 780 or 7,
And that
something along those lines.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so those numbers that have been, I'll just go back a little bit. Going through the McPhillips Street is a Canadian Tire.
Yes.
The two Portage Avenues are,
The second one is a Walmart, and the third one is a McMunn & Yates,
okay,
and the fourth one is a Canadian Tire,
okay.
and then the last two are Walmarts.
And the number 5, Keniston Boulevard, that's the one with the questioned rent per square foot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on that. I have no reason to doubt Ms. Tenoir's comments on there. So if you, I mean, it's somewhere between $640 a foot and $857 a foot, depending on which of the two sets of figures you use. And again, I'd stress this though. And you can see that there's obviously very limited market participants when you're talking about 100,000 square feet of retail space. Fundamentally, the best market evidence, notwithstanding that it was 6 years prior, or I guess 5.5 years prior to the reference date, is what was achieved as a result of the direct discussions at Walmart after Target left. If either Walmart thought they were overpaying, or if the landlord thought that they wanted to get more money from another market participant, it would have happened. But the very best that they could do, the meeting of the minds in this case, was based on the $666 per square foot. And in the context of the limited transactions for very large retail space, I do maintain that's a very good indicator, falling generally within the range, taking out the two outliers, Madam Chair, that were just discussed. The 666 still falls within that range, and I suggest it's a very good indicator in this case, notwithstanding that it's less than the average.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nesbitt, do you have any questions?
No, I have no additional questions. Thank you.
Nor do I at this time. So thank you very much for your questions, everybody. Is there a need for a summary by the party?
No, thank you.
No, I don't have the summary. Thank you.
Okay, well, Thank you very much. We have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.